Good evening. My husband's been joking on me since I learned I received this award 2 months ago. Because I started getting ready, I'm looking for dresses, right? And he's like, yo, for the National Book Awards, like you wrote your speech on a napkin, right? Right before I actually went on stage. And like this one I at least outlined. And so I cannot say enough, and I know I emailed it to Kari when I received the email, but this is the greatest award I have ever received in my entire life. There is no sticker on a book. There is no New York Times list. There is no Amazon #1. There is nothing that compares to being loved and held up by the people who helped build you up, for them to recognize your work. For anybody who has read my first novel, The Poet X, if you go to the acknowledgments, you will see the Brotherhood Sister Sol shout out. It is to that extent that I was raised in Brosis to pay homage. I was raised in Brosis to honor your elders. I was raised in Brosis to talk about the lineage of where you come from. And I talk about Brosis all the time. I was born and raised here in New York City, as you all heard, in the exact same apartment building as Sylvia Canales, across the hall from her. She kind of stole out of my speech, so pretend you didn't hear, right, her story. What Sylvia did not mention is at 11 years old, I was way too young for the program that she was running. It was a teen program. But at 11 years old, I was still really precocious. She was trying to recruit my older brother, who was 16 at the time. And I was just like, but why can't I come? And like, I'm a better writer than he is, right? And I became her tail. Anywhere Sylvia went, I went, right? And even at the time I was writing, but I was writing from a place of so much anger and so much curiosity. Growing up in a neighborhood that had Columbia University, I would see the ways that the young men in my neighborhood were arrested time and time again for selling drugs to the Columbia students who got to graduate and go on and have amazing lives. And there was a dichotomy there as a child that you're like, hold on, wait a minute, like something here doesn't add up. Something here doesn't make sense. And my poetry came from that kind of societal commentary, right? But it was at Brosis that I really began to think about tenderness, right? Not just the anger and the wrath, but let's talk about the other writers who you are in conversation with, Liz. And I watched Abraham and Frank and Cheyenne, right? As I got to sit with Emmanuel Candelario and speak with these other poets, I was the youngest, I was a baby, and they were all really good. And I was like, dang, I gotta get better, fast, right? I'm also super competitive. But it was in this space where we were learning about Aramin Sarras, right? Where we were talking about the transatlantic slave trade, things that I wasn't necessarily learning in school, things that my own parents had never been taught. So it was a supplement to my education. And I just remember, you know, I wasn't the best student. I wasn't someone who loved going to school. But every single Friday from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., because thank God we had amazing facilitators who would just hang out with us for hours on a Friday night. Like, having been a teacher, I'm like, I'm getting out of here at 3:30, right? Sylvia and Jacques and Damon would sit with us for hours on Friday, just allowing us to recite our poetry and learn from each other. It wasn't about making us amazing, award-winning writers. It was about providing a space for young people who had so much hunger in what they wanted to say, and were learning from each other and just providing safety. And at critical times when I think a lot of us were lacking in safety, it meant so much, right? It was really important. My writing in general, when you read it, I think is one that I always say, I am unflinchingly honest. I will not lie about my people, but I am also so tender. I want any young person who opens my book to know they are loved, that this author is holding them, that this author sees and respects them. And that was how I felt whenever I walked into that building. I remember being in 10th grade, I had a history teacher who was lovely, right? I'm not here to hate on any teachers. but he was someone who we were talking about social movements, and I remember asking him, you know, we don't talk a lot about women leaders. Like, where are the women warriors? Where are the fighters? Where are the women who are coming in? Having been in Bro since I was 12, right, I had an idea of some folks, but they weren't being mentioned in school. And Beacon is a great school. They weren't being mentioned in school. And so I remember coming to Bro and I'm really angry. And for some reason, I went up straight to Kari, right? He was not my facilitator per se. Kari was always really busy. He sat in the corner. He's like writing proposals. But Kari that day was going to get this work. And I'm like, Kari, I was in school today, and I asked about the women leaders and the women warriors, and my teacher said that there weren't any, right? And Kari looked at me, and I was like, and I want to write a poem about it. I've been Googling, and I got some names, but I need more names. And Kari just began running down a list of names. And I'm over here writing, like, okay, I got to go Google and do my research, right? But it was that poem that when Jason came up here and started reciting, not in your textbook, I am, that was the poem that started from being cultivated in that space, right? And I do want to share the poem with you all. I do want you to hear what it felt like to be a young person who was influenced at every level. I think I would still be a writer without Bro Sis, right? I give a lot of attributes to Bro Sis. I would still be a writer. I would not be writing with the kind of love of my community, with the kind of joy in celebrating us, with the groundedness in always respecting the writers who have held it down long before me, that I am just one in a line of many, if I hadn't been taught the kinds of principles that this organization taught me. And I know this is not supposed to be a speech where I just like show love to Bro Sis, but I cannot stand up here and accept this award without acknowledging the organization that was not an arts organization when I walked in, but became an arts organization in response to what the young people needed, that allows me to be up here today. I am the daughter of Nefertiti, born in the womb of Araminta, the manifested soul of Sojourner, the blood flow of Evita, the heart of Xena with the mind of Athena. I throw my right fist in the air, in the other I hold my sword. I lead my people from enslavement, tell them follow that drinking gourd. Walking roads of warriors like Joan, I sit in an Amazonian throne, crowned by Queen Hatshepsut. Lead a resistance like an Ashanti queen against the rules. With a spear on my back and a cross on my forehead, follow Nanny of the Maroons. And forget those who try enslave me. I shall not let them encage me. I wade through waters with a tribe of Isad Koseshis, try to follow the ways of Indira, peaceful, serene, mind over matter, but I will shed blood before tears. I walk through archaic temples, ancient drumbeats guide my feet. Pharaohs prophesied my coming, wise men wrote epics in my name. My story has already been told on old pyramid walls in hieroglyphic and by God's hand in the book of St. Peter. So I dance capoeira through the blows of persecutors. Your fist shall not hurt me. Real leaders never fall. They merely stumble. How dare you question who I am? How dare you question my descendancy? I am the daughter of Nefertiti, born in the womb of Araminta, the manifested soul of Sojourner, the blood flow of Evita, the heart of Xena with the mind of Athena. And yes, I was born with my right fist in the air, and Bro Sis held my left.